You guys probably think that being mentally healthy is pretty important, right? You probably already are mentally healthy. Yet, do you have everything you want? Are you at the place that you want to be in every category of your life? For most people, the answer is no. Happiness and getting what you want is not necessarily the same thing as being mentally healthy. Psychology and the focus on mental health, although it's important, isn't going to get you what you want. And that's the thing. Psychology and being mentally healthy, which you probably are mentally healthy, will not get you the things that you want. So, what will? That's where inner game comes in. Now, what's inner game? What is that? What's that all about? Your inner game is using your mind to create the right actions that will get you to win. Define winning. Well, winning is accomplishing or achieving your goals with minimal losses or casualties, we'll say. So it's using your mind to direct your actions to get what you want. This is really performance based psychology more so than mental health focused psychology. So a psychologist is going to be focused on mentally healthy or unhealthy people and trying to get people to move towards becoming more mentally healthy based on a DSM diagnostic criteria or a diagnosis. That's what psychiatry and that's what psychology is aiming towards. It can be effective for certain things, it can be not so effective in other things. There's a lot of places where the psychology and psychiatry world is kind of broken and needs to be revamped or fixed. But there are some areas where they're doing pretty well, and a lot of that's going to depend on the professional you're working with. But you have to understand when working with a psychologist and when you're YouTubing things on psychology, or when you're hearing from a therapist or whoever, someone who uses, I'm Dr. So and so, a psychologist, and here's my opinion. Okay, their training and their direction is towards making people move away from having diagnosable conditions. Okay, that's what it is. That's what they do. Okay, in various different ways. Now, there's a lot of different diagnostic criterias. There's a lot of different mental health disorders. Some will specialize in different ones. You get the idea. Well, what about the rest of you? I mean, there are a fair amount of people who are mentally ill and living with mental illness. That's somewhere between 1 in 5 and 1 in 4 people. So it's pretty high. But what about those of you who are not mentally ill? If you're listening to this, statistically speaking, you're probably not mentally ill. Now, your significant other or your family or good friends might question that whether or not you're mentally ill or not. That said, okay, you prop now, of course, your family and friends might question your mental health, all right, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you are mentally ill and you fit something in the diagnostic criteria. All right, so we got some fireworks going on in the background. It's Memorial Day Eve, and so people are enjoying themselves, and so am I because I'm talking to you. So we're gonna let that go and talk right through any background noise. So where does inner game come in then? Most most psychologists and therapists and counselors are not prepared for this. They're not prepared to help you to use your mind to create actions that are going to cause you to win. That's not where their training is, all right? That is where I come in, and this is where I'm here to help. So, inner game is the secret sauce. It's a secret to your success. It's not just psychology, it's not just mental health. It's creating that winning mindset and creating the mindset that will allow you to take the actions you need to take. Now, what actions do you need to take? Well, that's where awareness comes in. You have to have awareness in order to be able to see where the problems are, to see what's missing, to see where your skill gaps are so you can develop some different skills. And then you need to figure out how to motivate yourself in order to take those steps and take those actions, or just have the discipline to take action anyway, even if you're not feeling very motivated. So the point is getting what you want. A lot of people are turning to psychology who are mentally healthy, and they may, and then they're getting disappointed. People are going to therapy, but they're spending a year or two in therapy, not much different than when they started. The reason is because your expectations are not being managed properly, unfortunately. You're expecting to get things that you want in life by working on your mental health, but according to the diagnostic criteria, you're already mentally healthy. Even if you're sad and depressed and unhappy and struggling, you don't have a mental illness. So those things that are available to those things that you're working on to try to improve your mental health isn't getting you the job that you want. It's not getting you higher income. It's not getting you the girl that you want. It's not getting you the relationship that you want. It's not helping you in your dating, in your friendships, in your social circles. It's not helping to remove toxic patterns of behaviors, communication problems, all sorts of things. So when I say use your mind, what do I mean by using your mind? Well, I'm referring to your conscious thoughts, okay, and the information. But here's another flaw that you might have, because most people have it, is people think now in 2025 that information is all that they need. Information is pretty meaningless. Information is not going to help you get what you want. It's only the start of maybe getting what you want. A bigger problem we have is too much information. So like you can get all the information in the world, but if you can't see the problem the way that you need to see it, if you don't have the awareness to see what skills you're missing, if you're, you know, if you don't have the winning mindset, if you don't have the right actions, if you don't have the discipline or motivation to take the right actions, if you can't use your subconscious mind to your advantage, if you can't use your instincts to your advantage, your emotions to your advantage, all the information in the world isn't going to help you. So information is really only part of what you need, and it's a very small part considering all the rest of what you need for your inner game. All right. So your inner game is more about transforming your behavior, and it's using, yes, your conscious thoughts in your mind. That's the one aspect of things, but it's also using your emotions and having training your emotions to react appropriately, working on handling your emotions, working on handling and having the most optimal emotions for the situation that you're in, emotional self-control and processing emotions, which includes processing trauma, because although that crosses over into psychology a bit, trauma is going to cause you to not get what you want, not get you to win, right? So processing trauma can be a part of it. Everything in your subconscious mind that can direct you towards taking the right actions in order to win need to be dealt with, need to be transformed. Also, skill sets. What skills do you need? You want to go talk to women and get good dates and jump on a dating app or whatever, right? Communicate better with your significant other. Well, those are skill sets. You want to learn how to sell so you can market your product that you're trying to sell and make more money, or maybe you're in a sales based business. That's a skill set. Okay. There's inner game behind the skill set. Two, there's processing through emotions. There's processing through your ideas, your conscious ideas. There's your subconscious paradigms and ways of thinking. All those things affect how you obtain and utilize the particular skills you need. You want to get better at making money? You need skills in making money. You want to get better at sex? Skills in sex. Better at fighting? Skills in fighting. You get the idea. Skill is not the same, and training skill is not the same as information. So a lot of you guys have the illusion of action. You think you're getting stuff done because you're just binge watching and reading lots of stuff, but you're not practicing skills. Okay? Just to use a shooter background for those of you shooters out there, are you going to learn how to be a great shooter by reading about it and watching YouTube videos? Not really, right? You can learn all about shooting. You can know a lot of information about shooting. We used to call that back in the 90s, right? We used to call that being a poser. You guys remember calling people a poser? Any of you guys who are Gen X and into boomer used to call people posers when they would learn about stuff to try to look cool, and then they don't fucking know how to do anything, right? I remember when I was in middle school, we called skaters people who bought the cool skateboard and could talk the talk and wore their hair like a skater, dressed like a skater, wore the right shoes. They got their parents to buy them all that shit because, they had rich parents, right? And then they couldn't do an ollie and they couldn't skate. Like, that's a poser. Okay, many people out there today, and maybe even you sometimes, are fucking posers because you're sitting there learning about all the shit and learning how to talk the talk and walk the walk, but you don't know how to fucking do shit because you're not working on your inner game. You're maybe worrying about your mental health, which is fine. Maybe then you're getting a bunch of information about something and you want to feel like you really got something, but you really don't have anything, right? So skill set is part of inner game, skill development, okay? Anything you need to do to accomplish something requires skill development. That's part of your inner game. How you approach training yourself is part of your inner game. So inner game encompasses a lot of things, right? It goes beyond the diagnostic manual in psychology. It goes beyond, are you mentally ill or are you mentally healthy? And that's really important because being mentally healthy is really a low standard, I think, even though a lot of people aren't. But being mentally healthy is like the low barrier to entry. And the reality is, there's a lot of people who are diagnosed with some mental illness who can be very successful in things that they want. They might struggle with certain things that are psychological conditions, and they're very successful. You know, and so there's lots of people. There's people out there who've been schizophrenic, and they become, great mathematicians, or they're great. Like, got a lot of stories about stuff like that. People who struggle with mental illness, but become great and stuff. Or they have, I in my coaching practice, I have people who have had diagnosable conditions and they're getting treated for their diagnosable conditions with a doctor, a psychiatrist, or psychologist. And they're coming to me for what? They're coming to me to develop skills in usually relationships and dating, which is something that I help people develop skills in that. Or they're working on their inner game with me so that they can develop the right actions and the winning mindset. Okay, so that's what inner game is. And that's your superpower. That's the thing that's missing. Okay. And I want to change the narrative, hopefully, before I take a dirt nap like everybody else, to make that impact and change our understanding of approaching psychology and not just looking at it from a perspective of mentally ill or sick people and then mentally healthy people, but to look at it from a perspective of getting what you want out of life and using your mind and everything that is in it in order to accomplish that. So stick with me on this channel, get into my community. Right now, I just have a men's community. If I have enough interest from women out there, I will create a women's community and have a woman run it. But get into the community, it's free. We work on relationship related issues and we work on your inner game there. Okay. And so I want to ask you, another question people might have or are new who see this video in their feed. They don't know anything about me. Why would I focus on relationships as well as inner game, not just one or the other? Well, my expertise is in both, so there's that. But besides that, it's because the relationships you have with others, and particularly your sexual relationships and romantic relationships, directly affect your inner game. They directly affect how well you're going to do in other areas of your life. And your inner game directly affects everything to include those relationships. All right. You don't live in a bubble. You don't live on an island where you're just going to be your Sigma male on some mountaintop somewhere with no contact with people and then get the things that you want in life. The reality is we're social beings, we're social animals, and we have to be with other people, work with other people. Even if you are in a tech job, all right, whatever you're doing with technology at some point translates to an end user, which is a human being, okay? And you're going to have to talk and deal with people. And the better you are at developing relationships and communicating and persuading others and leading others, the better you are going to get your outcomes that you need in life. And your romantic and sexual outcomes are a top priority, at least from an evolutionary perspective. You might not believe or think it is in your life. You might not consider it a priority. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But evolutionarily speaking, your mammalian brain down to your reptilian brain considers your sexual relationships a top priority. So if you don't address those, it's going to affect everything else in a bad way. Okay. If that area is not going well for you, you're going to have an inner game issue or a problem, and you're not going to be able to win in other areas of your life. So this should hopefully answer the question for a lot of you. Why apex inner game? What is inner game? Am I just marketing something? I don't want to say psychology. Like what is this all about? No, it's a real thing. And there's an actual model here that I'm presenting to you, which is the secret sauce. You know, you came to the internet, you came to YouTube, and you're looking for answers. You're scrolling something, and you came across me, and you're hoping to get some sort of secrets that's going to make everything better. Well, congratulations, you found it. All right, using your mind to direct your actions to win is what you need to focus on, and that needs to be the backbone of everything you're trying to do. Hope to see you in the community. Take care.